Okay. So we're going to be diving in here into an oracular astrology reading for 2026. And as I'm sure you can already feel in your body, 2026 is not a normal year. And 2026 is really a threshold year. It is a turning point. It is a we can't go back to the way things were kind of year. And so, in no way am I here to, catastrophize, fearmonger, any of those things. I am here to do what astrology has always helped us to do, right? Which is to orient, to attune, to participate in our lives with greater wisdom and greater agency and greater clarity and devotion. Because we know this inherently in our bones, and some part of us feels this, right? And most importantly, today, I want to support us in becoming resourced for the journey ahead. So, the big theme of 2026, this is really an age of initiation. This is a whole new world kind of year. And there's a very rare thing that is happening. And there are multiple slow moving planets that are shifting signs all in the same year. And this is really signaling collective timeline changes. So, not just personal mood shifts. It's like this is a real deep timeline shift that is available. And it is going to shape generations. It's going to shape movements. It's going to shape our new normal. And so, if there's this way that it's like, I don't really recognize, things are moving really fast, faster than I can integrate, I feel like I'm shedding old identities, maybe multiple timelines, and that there's a pressure, this sort of future pressure. This is really the initiation into this new epoch that we are in. And so, new narratives, new leadership, new tech, new revolutions, new identities, a whole new architecture for our world. And so I want to break down some of the main transits that are happening this year and how they're going to affect us. And then I want to share 10 of the core real ways that we can work with this energy, practical advice, practical suggestions, practical steps that we can take to really integrate all of this into our bodies, into our lives, and into the journey ahead. And so the first transit that I want to speak into is Neptune entering Aries. And what I've titled this is the flame of faith. And so January 26th is when this is happening. And there's a spiritual fire and an idealism that are coming together. And this is going to be staying for a long stretch until the late 2030s. And so this marks a generational shift into spiritual courage, faith mixed with action, rebirthing identity through devotion to a vision, and also really taking a stand and fighting for what is sacred, right? This idea of what I've spoken to in the past as the heart warriors rising, and it feels like in this time it might be a little bit more light warriors rising. And the thing to know about Neptune is that it is the mystic, it is the dream, it is the invisible realm, and this ocean of oneness that connects us to the divine. However, it also can bring illusion and propaganda and confusion. So, discernment is going to be one of the most important spiritual practices that we have moving forward. And this is a very active energy, all of the Aries energy coming in. So, we're not just dreaming the new world, we are initiating it. We are taking action towards it. It is the year of the fire horse that we're going to be entering into in February. And so, that is very aligned with all of this Aries energy. And one of the other most important things that we're going to be needing to do is slow down, because the energy is going to be accelerating at a pace that might feel very intense. So Aries is this match strike, right? It's the wild warrior. It's the beginning. It's the first of the zodiac. It's the I am, claiming and taking up space. And so Neptune in Aries, spirituality is no longer passive. This is an end of the era of only meditating and hoping and manifesting. This is really a time to ask, what do I stand for? What am I willing to channel my precious life force to and devote my life force to? And what truth am I willing to embody? So this is devotion in action. This is sacred activism, right? And so there's a way that we really are going to be tested with this. Can we tell the difference between what is true and what is just loud? Can we tell the difference between intuition and trauma response, right? This is why discernment is going to become such an important spiritual practice, to really stop, to really deepen in, to really discern, is this in the highest and best good with my precious life force that I'm bringing forward? So along with Neptune in Aries, we also have Saturn that is going to be re-entering Aries as well. And what I'm calling this transit is sacred containment for that fire. So there's a way that Saturn is the sacred elder. It is discipline, it's boundaries, it's integrity and responsibility. It's a level of mastery. And so in this sign, it's like, okay, with Neptune in Aries, it's like you have this dream, and now it's like, what structures do you need to actually build that dream? And so with this, it's saying, okay, you have this fire, now how can you hold it? So it doesn't become a wild, untamed wildfire. How can you channel this fire skillfully? It's like training the volcano, which is something I've been doing for the last many years, is like really working with that fire water energy and training that volcanic energy really applies here. And so Saturn in Aries is really an era of learning mature leadership and becoming self-governed. So building structures not only that can hold our fire, but that are deeply attuned to our own self-governance and sovereign action. And there's also going to be an importance here for us to be committed to the path. So passion, yes, and also deep commitment. And, usually I've shied away from the word discipline and have only worked with the word devotion. But there's a way that the word discipline, devotion is coming in for this energy. It's like a next level attunement to what that actually means. And so there's a way that this is an energy of no more waiting for permission. No more outsourcing authority. This is the year that we stop asking, is it okay for me to be who I am? Is it okay for me to be unapologetically myself? The answer is fuck yes. Now is the time. And what kind of container, what kind of sacred containment does my life require in order for my soul to arrive fully? I'm going to say that again. What kind of sacred containment or container, structure, does my life require in order for my soul, my essence, the diamond core of who I am to fully arrive, right? Because your purpose needs support. It needs the scaffolding. Your calling is not trying to run you into the ground. It requires sustainability, right? So there's a way that Saturn in Aries teaches us structure liberates our radiance. Boundaries protect the legacy that we are creating, and true discipline, those containers, actually create freedom. One of the things that Gabrielle Roth has said is it takes great discipline to be a creative spirit. And there's something that I really love about this because it feels very connected to this energy. And so what we're having is an unprecedented conjunction with Saturn and Neptune together in Aries at 0 degrees. And that is happening on February 20th, 3 days after the first solar eclipse in Aquarius that we're going to have on the 17th of February. So this is going to be in the eclipse portal. It's going to be in the portal, which we will have already begun our journey with Unapologetic You, and really stepping in and starting to catalyze the energies that are present for us. As you know, that portals of the eclipses are really for profound endings and new beginnings. So this is a really big seed point, new beginning point. And what I'm calling this conjunction of them together is devotion over dopamine and adrenaline addiction. Because there is a way that our culture has been deeply addicted to adrenaline. and moving in ways that are really not in alignment. So this is where pure womb manifestation becomes possible, where vision can meet reality. It's this collision point of the dream and what we believe with what we are wanting to build and what we are willing to devote ourselves to. So this is a big year of that disciplined devotion, which I'm going to share more about later. But 2026 is asking us, are you going to romanticize the dream, or are you actually going to devote to it and start to take that step-by-step sacred action? And this is different than motivation, because devotion is a vow, right? Devotion is what we do when we're tired. Devotion is what we do when no one is looking. Devotion is what we do when no one claps. Devotion is what we do when the world feels like a fucking chaotic mess, right? And so 2026 is not asking us to do more. It is asking us to simplify in the most profound ways to that crystalline clarity of doing what matters most for you, that you are here to do. That quantum health, wealth, and legacy that is our theme for this year, doing that with devotion. So we're going to talk more about this, but that's really planting the seed of that on February 20th, which is going to be really profound energy. And we are going to be gathering for a new moon ceremony before that in that eclipse window before this date. So we're going to have a moment to really ceremonialize this and tap in a very deep way to the medicine that is available here with this for us. I think it's going to be profoundly inspiring in a way that, you know, with that fire energy and that seed point, like really it's going to feel like anything is possible that we want to create if we are ready and willing to devote ourselves to it. And I think that applies individually, but also collectively, right? The new world that we want to see, that revolution that is here. So Uranus in Gemini is, we already got a taste of this, right? As Uranus went back into Taurus, but in April, it's going to be coming back around and stationing. And this is an age of acceleration. And it is a revolution of communication and culture, because Uranus is the disruptor, the innovator, the awakener. It's this lightning bolt, right? That comes in. And Gemini is communication. It's language, it's media, it's information, it's networks. And this is when our voice really evolves and our message and our mission is really going to upgrade, and our minds must stay very flexible. So Uranus in Gemini is really going to bring a revolution of how we are communicating and learning, what type of platforms are existing, what voices rise. And I think because of the context, especially Neptune and Aries, there is going to be a big surge for creative and spiritual leaders to have their voice seen and heard in the world, because that medicine is going to be, those that are devoted to the mission and to that medicine, those voices are really going to rise. And it's how ideas spread, rapid shifts in communication and tech. Of course, also AI will continue to be on the rise, especially with Pluto and Aquarius. And there's going to be new ways of sharing truth, and also the possibility for mental liberation, right? There also could be information warfare, right? Both are possible. So there's this way that this is a speed up of time. And the nervous system can feel overwhelmed in this. I know I felt it immediately when Uranus went into Gemini. My nervous system was like, oh, I do not like this energy. It's like, you know, it's a very like speedy, like fervored energy, right? And you do not need to keep up with everything, right? All you need to do is stay true to what is yours, what is unapologetically your essence and who you are here to be. And so this is an era where we get to claim mental sovereignty. The lies, the illusions, all the things that we've been operating under, especially governmentally and otherwise, those things are going to start to break down this year, especially once the nodes are shifting into North Node Aquarius and South Node in Leo. The cult of personality is going to fall this summer. And this is really a time when we need energetic boundaries and deep conscious consumption. Choosing depth over doom scrolling. This is not the time to be stuck in patterns of doom scrolling and being like taking social media in first thing in the day. This is a time to center into yourself, to your own medicine, to your own wisdom, to your own truth, your own knowing before you engage with anything else in the outside noisy world in this moment. because information without integration can become fragmentation. So we have to return to the body. Again, this is a big year. Return to the body, return to breath, return to simplicity. We are also going to have a taste of Chiron entering Taurus. We are going to get a touch for all of those with Chiron and Taurus, which I know there are a lot of us here. And for those that are going to be having their Chiron return coming up, this is going to be the initial taste of that. And even for those that don't, these themes will be up and alive. And it's really healing with the body and worth and safety. And, you know, Chiron is around the nervous system safety, it's around money wounds, it's around enoughness, it's around receiving support, it's around worthiness. And so we are healing at a deep level survival consciousness and relearning how to receive. One of the cards that came in very strong for me this year is activate that collective matrix of care. And that is something that Pluto and Aquarius is also initiating. And I'll talk more about this later, but a way of really anchoring in to that web of collective care and what that feels like to receive. Yeah, seeing that. Yeah. So the other exciting thing we have happening this year around the same time is Jupiter is entering in Leo in late June. And Leo is bigger joy, bolder self-expression, more visibility, more play, more creative risk. This is, you know, why Sparkle Shamelessly is the root of the work that I do. I have Jupiter in Leo. So I'm having my Jupiter return this year on 8/8 on the Lionsgate portal. It becomes exact, which I'm very excited about. And I'm going to utilize that, but I need to resource myself first. So there's a way that radiance is going to be real medicine. And this is happening very close to the South Node going into Leo. So we're going to be clearing the things that keep us from authentic expression. We're going to be clearing any of the old karmic baggage. We're going to be clearing the ego and coming to a place of true heart-centered leadership, sovereign, self-loving leadership, because that is ultimately Leo as well. So I'm very excited about Jupiter entering into Leo. I think that's going to be it's going to bring an energy of lightness and play and joy to a lot of big energies that are going to be moving. And so I think that's going to be one that we can really lean into. And like the card in the Sacred Revolution Oracle, delight in sacred play and synchronicity, that's very Jupiter and Leo. It's going to give us some joy and some lightness. And just remembering that our creative life force is our compass, right? As we tune into our bodies, it's like that is going to continue to help us share and lead. So the other big thing happening this year is that the nodes are shifting into Aquarius and Leo, as I already shared. And this is like ego versus collective destiny, because this is redirecting collective lessons towards community, towards collaboration, towards authenticity, leadership that serves the whole, and innovation over performative status. So we are done performing power. We are done performing in any kind of way, and we are building real power, real vulnerability, real truth, real expression, unapologetic expression together. Right? And so Pluto in Aquarius, which we know has already been here, it's like this new earth web that rules the communities and systems. And this is really that place where it's the revolution that's here, because the old systems are dying and the new ones are going to be built by people who are willing to collaborate and to innovate and to lead with that integrity and heart-centered Leo energy. And so there's going to be a lot of community-led movements. There's going to be a lot of future accelerating. There's going to continue to be old power structures that are dying. This is a big year for that, a really big year. And when I talk about all these big transits that are happening, we're going to have about 2 years where things are going to be very malleable still, where we really are creating the world that we want to see. And after that, it's going to start to settle and integrate. So the next 2 years feel very, very powerful and important for us to focus on our powers and capacities to co-create the world that we want to see. So not just our own world, but the collective world. There's a way that we're really going to be asked to come together and really, really weave together in the collective for these new earth systems. And this is obviously not lone wolf energy. Like, that energy is really got to be done as of this year. And this is a time of mutual aid, of micro communities, of that collective care, of aligned alliances. So this is the time of like coming together with your people. The nervous system needs community to co-regulate, right? And this is where there's deep wisdom available, is in the collective wisdom. And what's interesting about this time is that it's not huge groups. It's actually guiding us towards smaller micro groups. Groups from 3 to 8 is what I've sort of been feeling, seeing, sensing. 3 to 13, really intimate circles where you can fully deepen, fully co-regulate, fully resource, fully receive what you need and lean in a deep way. So I've really been seeing that, and that fits so ideally with our sacred circle this year with Unapologetic You. It is a more intimate circle, and it is a place for us to deeply lean in, to receive, to regulate, to resource, and to continue to remember. So we're really going to get to activate in real time all of these energies as they're unfolding, because there is going to be a lot of movement and a lot that is happening, a lot that is unfolding, again, that acceleration. So this is going to be our space to anchor in, to come back, to deeply resource and become response able. And so how we meet this moment is what I really want to speak into here, right? This is the kind of overview of what's happening, but what I care more about is how do we meet it? How do we show up to it? How do we show up to a year like this, right? And how do we stay awake without burning out? And so there's 10 core themes that I feel like 2026 is asking of us. And so the first one is to be deeply resourced and response able, not reactive. And when I say responsible, it's like able to respond at any given moment. And so in unstable times, a lot of people are going to react with collapse or avoidance or numbing or overworking or panic. But you are here, which means you are going to stay awake and practice what it means to be resourced. Your body being supported, your mind clear, your spirit deeply fed, right? Your heart connected. Your life has breathing room. Your boundaries and your sovereignty are firmly intact, and your community has your back. And your calendar is not trying to kill you. And that's a big one. No more to-do list and calendar trying to kill you. It's not going to work. This is not a year for adrenaline-based leadership. This is a year for regulated presence. Okay? And I really want to say that again. This is a year for regulated presence. And we're going to be deeply practicing that, right? We want to move as slow as the fast, we want to move as fast as the slowest part of us, right? It's like that level, and making decisions from the body, not the spiral, and building your life so that it holds you regardless of what is happening in the outside world. And if something costs you your nervous system, it costs too much. Your nervous system is the altar. And in a world that is accelerating, your ability to stay present, to slow down, to attune to sensation is one of the greatest powers. So resourcing is not optional. Resourcing is not optional. And we are simplifying and strengthening our foundations to create greater capacity for what matters, for what we are here to do. Resourcing is not a luxury here. It is not an indulgence. And so I want to give you permission to allow things to get simple. Really simple. Simplify. Allowing things to slow down. Allowing yourself to say no. Allowing yourself to protect your energy fiercely, shoring up the resources you already do have, and to prioritize sustainability. Because the ones who are resourced are the ones who can keep showing up when it really matters. And we know that there's going to be lots of opportunities to show up in the world ahead. So the second one is to choose holy devotion over the dopamine and adrenaline addiction. And again, it's not about going towards what's loud or what's urgent or what's trending. It's what are you willing to devote yourself to even when no one is watching? That's what real leadership is. especially ecstatic embodied leadership. When you're over there feeling into your sensations, tending to your body, tending to your nervous system, and really attuning and coming back to, this is what matters most to me. This is my next action step. Staying in your lane. And one of the things that I heard when I was in journey work already this year was hold the line. It's like hold the line of your vision. Even if it seems very far away, the vision for yourself, the vision for our world. Devotion creates coherence, and coherence is going to be extremely important. So number 3 is practice fierce discernment as a sacred act. We already sort of touched into this one, but again, there's going to be a lot of information coming at us, not a lot of wisdom. But your body is the barometer for that. Is it true or is it just loud? Right? Is this intuition or is this unprocessed fear? Is this mine to carry? These are all important questions to ask. So truth is calm. I am going to sort of post these as well so that you'll have them. So don't worry if you're like, oh, I didn't get that one. I'm going to write them down. So the third one was practice fierce discernment as a sacred act. So the fourth is to root into real, raw relationships and micro community. So again, this is not a solo initiation kind of era, even though we are going through our own rebirth journeys in a lot of ways at this time. But this is a web weaving year, intricate web weaving, because we are not meant to do this alone. So we need trusted circles, right? Mutual support, reciprocity, shared leadership. So not more followers, not more people, more relational safety. Okay, so the future here is really built in small, strong webs that are able to show up for each other. So number 5 is cultivate soft power and radical sovereignty. So we want to avoid hardness, numbing, armoring, all things that might be reactions, and to be adaptive, to be flexible, to be rooted enough to bend. Think of a palm tree, a really tall palm tree in a storm, right? You want that level of deep groundedness, but ability to really move with what is happening. And soft power is really when you are regulated enough to respond, when you are tender enough to stay human, and when you are rooted enough to lead even when things get unstable, right? So this is strength without force. It's boundaries without aggression. It's presence without performance. So this is holding change without losing your heart. There may be a lot of identity collapse that is happening this year. So letting go, right? Letting go of what isn't meant to serve anymore. And no longer outsourcing your authority. This is a year of true soft star power, right? Making those choices you can stand behind. And really being led by your values and not collapsing into groupthink. Right? I belong to myself. I think for myself. So number 6 is letting the wisdom of the body lead. And so the body is going to tell you the truth before the mind catches up. We know this. That's why practicing attuning to our sensations more and more, moment to moment, is going to support us in continuing to come home to the body, but also listening to ourselves at a deeper level. So your body is not in the way, it is the doorway, right? And when Chiron moves into Taurus, the body is that truth teller. So we're really going to be leaning into somatic tracking, following the sensations. What happens in my heart when I say yes? What happens in my gut when I say no? Right? This is the space where honoring fatigue is really important. Sacred rest, pleasure as regulation, returning to the ground with rituals to regulate, right? Less screen time with social media and scrolling and being online, and more sensation, more feeling, so the body can continue to be the compass, and this year even more so. I know we've been doing a lot to build that practice over time here in our community. And now it's like really putting that to practice, right? Of like, okay, now here's the fire, and like, let's actually practice this in a deep, deep level. And the irony of, walking into this year with a boot on, it's like, and it's, of course, it's on my left side, which is the feminine side. And if the feminine wants you to slow down, an injury in the foot is the best way to do that, right? Of like, you can't walk forward with right now, you need to sit the fuck down, right? And so listening before the body has to talk in that level of a way, right? Listening before the body has to talk. The boot is supporting my feminine, yes, and supporting me to receive rest because my foot doesn't have to exert effort. Yes, exactly. So practicing that greater attunement, and since I was dealing with all those other sort of medical crises last year, that one fell to the end of the list, right? And so that's the reason it's sort of coming up now. It's like taking those things as they come. So number 7 is to build sacred containment to hold your fire. We already talked about this a little bit, but this is that, the containers, the structure, the scaffolding. Passion without containment can burn out, right? This is to create that sustainable burn. And structure without soul deadens. It can't just be some strategy that doesn't have any soul, because that's also not going to work. So tuning into boundaries, to rhythm, to systems that protect your creativity, that protect your energy, that make that devotion sustainable for you to show up. Rituals, daily rituals, structures that liberate your radiance. Number 8 is to stay devoted to beauty. So beauty is not an extra in unstable times. And beauty is art, it's music, it's ritual, it's laughter. It's literally going outside and seeing nature radiate. It's watching a beautiful sunset that literally makes your mouth hang open with awe, right? Beauty keeps the heart open when the world feels heavy. And it's a signal to the nervous system that life is still here. Magic is still present, right? And so this becomes an anchor to stay devoted to that beauty, to dance the beauty way, to walk the beauty way, to really stay connected in that, not as a luxury, but as a true anchoring. And one of the things that I can say has always been so supportive for me and continues to be, in the most challenging times, I go to the art. I go to my shamanic healing art. I go to music. I go to dance. I go to what brings beauty, because it helps me to center back in and reorient. So those can also be practices, not only things that we view and experience, but things that we also actually do and participate in to connect us back into that. So number 9 is move with disciplined devotion. So here is that piece that is, the word discipline really wanted to be present. And I have definitely a lot of things that come up around discipline, and I've done a lot to work through that, because disciplined devotion means I take action without abandoning myself. It says I stay committed without becoming frantic or reacting. I move forward, but with purpose, not pressure. I move forward connected to my mission and the legacy I'm here to create, what I am standing for. I am not rushing. I am not freezing. I am not spiraling. I am showing up again and again for what matters most, with integrity, with consistency, right? And so really, before acting, asking, is this aligned and necessary? Is this sustainable? Is this even mine to do? Right? And then moving, not from fear or performance or proving, but from devotion. Again, presence is so important here. It needs your regulated, soft power and your steady, soul-led yes. That heart-led yes. Because the fire might inspire us to be like, fuck, yes, I'm doing this. And we might need to get to those moments. And there might be other times where it's like, yes, I'm willing to show up to this again. Yes, I'm willing to move forward with this. Yes, I'm willing to be here. even if it gets challenging, right? And I feel very in that right now with what's happening with my physical body. It's like there's a part of me that, of course, just wants none of it to be here. Of course, it's like I would prefer to not be going through this particular initiation because it's the hardest one I've ever been through in my life. And there is a yes for showing up to it again and again and again, even though it's challenging. And it's not a super excited yes, but it is a devoted, disciplined yes. I am here for this. Yes, I am willing to show up to this. Yes, I'm willing to do what is needed to heal, right? And so the last one is number 10, to train your capacity to hold duality. This is very Uranus and Gemini, but this feels so important, and I'm feeling this present time very, very strongly. It's, this moment requires us to be able to hold both grief and gratitude, right? The highest heights of joy, for instance, in my own life, the highest heights of joy of having a wife finally and being married and getting to be in marital bliss. And then the deepest challenges of being in a physical illness, medical crisis type situation, right? It's like that is an intense duality to be holding, and it's what's real, and it is mirroring what's going on in the world, right? It's like having rage for what is happening, but also deep reverence for the power and the beauty of what is. Honoring the collapse, because we are in the death throes of collapse in the collective, and also creation simultaneously, right? How do we honor the endings and the death throes, as well as seed the new beginnings, the creation of what we actually want to see and bring forth? So that's that sacred softness, but while also having those fierce boundaries, right? And so these are just being able to hold that duality is so essential here and really will support moving forward, right? And so 2026 is really asking us to be resourced enough to be brave, right? And Aries is courage all the way. So courage will be required likely this year, right? And it's asking us to stop abandoning ourselves for urgency in any way. Nothing is that urgent, truly, right? So it's like really coming back to, unless there's a medical crisis, unless there's something happening that like truly is in that very moment present, and it's like usually there isn't that level of urgency. So to instead really become steady like that tree down at the bottom, even if you're swaying in the wind, right? To become devoted to what it is that you are standing for, to be regulated, and to lean into your sovereign creativity and the world that you want to bring forward. And so let this year be this year that you choose truth, the truth of your life, the truth of what you're here for, to stand for, and to be unapologetically who you are. This is essential to the journey ahead. And I did pull 3 cards here from the Sacred Revolution Oracle, and also a couple from the Tarot. And just wanted to weave these in quickly because they really feel so essential to this journey. So the first was ecstatic devotion to the mystery. So this is a year of moving with disciplined devotion, even when we don't have the full map, right? We really stay connected to the mystery. The second is to trust the universe within, this wisdom within, because we will not be led by the noise or the panic. We will be led by the body and the truth that really feels like a deep exhale. And then emerge through the rainbow birth portal, because 2026 is a rebirth year. It is a phoenix year. And we are being initiated into a new identity, a new way of leading, a new timeline. And so, we don't rush through the portal. We are honoring it. We are walking through it together. So there's Saturn here. There's the Uranus lightning. This one feels very all-encompassing of like, this is, and it's North and South Node astrology in the deck as well, this card. And so if you want to familiarize yourself a little bit more with this one, I also pulled this for me personally as well. So I'm sure that might also happen for some of you here. It's like, this is big energy that we're in. And Again, this is a turning point of no going back, and that is what is meant to be, right? That is what is here. That is what is alive. And again, because this is a year where everything speeds up, the most revolutionary thing we can do is slow down enough to hear ourselves. Like, if you don't take anything else from this reading today, I would advise you to take that, to slow down enough to hear yourself, because that is going to be so very essential. And, with this rebirth energy, it's the one thing I love about this is that, the butterfly is here and also the dragon, and the butterfly is let the old self die, right? Like, we're in the throes of the snake still, but there's going to be a way that there's still going to be that shedding. And the dragon is protecting that new self that is emerging, right? And that remembrance that the rainbow doesn't happen without the weather. The diamond doesn't happen without the pressure, right? And so this is an initiatory year. This is truly an initiatory year. And the journey of Unapologetic You is really the art of initiation in a lot of ways, and how to really let the initiations of our life shape us, honor us, form us into who we essentially are at the innermost core of our being, at that most unapologetic essence of self and soul. And the two tarot cards that came up are the King of Cups and the Knight of Pentacles. And I really love these as well, because the King of Cups is open-hearted and steady and compassionate and sovereign in the face of intensity. So it's a leader who can hold big waves without drowning in them. And I think that's really essential. Again, being response able and not reactive. And then the Knight of Pentacles reminds us that this isn't a year for rushing or proving. It is about consistency. It's about showing up with devotion. It's about those slow, steady steps that create real results. So it's a grounded momentum, showing up again and again and again, even if it's not glamorous. And even if the fire horse feels like it's taken off and you're being pulled from behind, it's like, I'm going to detach myself from that energy right now. And I am going to be in my soft power and disciplined devotion to the path ahead. And this ties in so perfectly with our theme for this year, right? Which is quantum health and wealth and legacy. Because quantum health is truly that foundation. If we don't have that health in our bodies and our beings, in the intensity of this global moment, our nervous systems become this doorway to clarity. And so the King of Cups becomes that medicine of soft power and emotional mastery, and really deeply supporting ourselves in being resourced. And then that quantum wealth is about sustainability and devotion in a deep way, and building those structures that hold our fire. And then that quantum legacy is what we build when we devote ourselves to the mission for the long haul, right? We're in the long game energy for the world we truly want to see. We've been holding this for a long time, and now it's quickening, right? The death throes are getting louder. The quickening of the new is coming. And, it's asking us to become the kind of leaders who can hold the vision, hold the line through change, through disruption, through rebirth, right? And so this is really how we emerge through the rainbow birth portal together. So legacy happens when we choose that disciplined devotion over distraction. And there's two other things that I want to share here is the crystal allies that came in for this year. I know there's a lot of information coming through. So there's the crystal allies, which is anandamide, which is a type of quartz, and then also howlite. And so anandamide is that pure holographic rainbow light body medicine. And it is literally like the mineral embodiment of star power. I did not know about anandamide until I called it in this year. And it is a frequency of expansion and metamorphosis and the new timelines that we're really emerging into. And it's essentially a natural quartz that looks like angel aura quartz. So it's quartz that comes out of the mountain with a rainbow sheen on it. And it's from the Himalayas, and it's very powerful, very high vibration, but also very grounded. And then how light is the soft power stabilizer. How light has never been a stone I have liked, and it came through so strong for this year because it's nervous system peace, and it's calm, and it's emotional mastery. It's really helping us calm the vessel so we can actually hold the light. And so, we are really becoming the kind of beings who can sustain channeling higher levels of light as they are starting to come in, because that is also going to be happening. Like, we're really going to start changing at the cellular level. And there's this way that together they remind us that we can be transformed and resourced, and we can emerge and stay grounded. And what's interesting is, Alberto Villoldo quite some time ago talked about the fact that we're becoming homo luminous. And this is something I have talked about in Circle before. And it feels like now the quickening is happening, where in fact those higher levels of energy and light and literal shifts to our DNA and cellular matrix could potentially start happening with these astrological energies. Because the convergence of planets that is happening at the end of this summer, that is a once in 6,000 year event, is when the birth of Western civilization happened. So it's like that level of evolutionary power that we're looking at this year. And so, like, there's a way that I think that when I say revolutionary, it's like evolutionary moment, And so really tuning into the body and how the body wants and needs to shift. And one of the things I've really been hearing as I keep tuning into the conditions that I'm dealing with in my body is that they are all cellular conditions. And I'm being asked to look at my cellular matrix at a very deep level for the upgrades that are coming, right? And what really is going to be shifting and changing in a deep level that will allow us to sparkle shamelessly at that next level and truly embody that holographic light, that rainbow light, and that star power. And what that actually means to be these light warriors, to be these beings of light, of love, of radiance in a deep, grounded, tangible way in how we are acting and showing up in the world, and what the legacy is that we're here to leave that really ripples out around that. And the oil for the year is courage, because we're going to need it. So I was like, well, duh, when I was really feeling into that. And, and this oil is just so powerful and so grounding. And so, it can be used on the bottom of the feet or the bottom of the knees. And there's a way that it just helps to land amidst whatever instability is. And I think that's really it. It's like coming back to our bodies, landing back in our own truth and our knowing and our own holy vessel, and here, and doing that collectively in community, in these micro communities that really can hold and regulate and resource us, is going to be one of the deepest gifts of this year, to be able to be on this journey together and riding this wave together and tuning into the energies as they are happening in real time, right? Locating this transit is happening tomorrow. How are you feeling in your body right now? Like, what is actually moving for you in this moment? Because that's what we're really going to be working with at a very deep level and tuning into as we take the overall journey of also, on the 7-stage spiral of becoming, of wild becoming, what that actually looks like as you're being initiated in real time by these energies. So very, very excited for all that is to come with this, and wanting to see if there's any ahas, any insights, anything that wants to come forward, anything that really stood out to you. Would love to hear in the comments.